Hi there, welcome to the Rock and Roll Rowdies. I'm here with Mr. Wilkinson,
known as
Wilco, and Derek Wilkinson, and I'm Mark Emery, and we're going to focus today talking about our history with the Average White Band.
AWB, the only life for me.
So, Wilco was tour manager of the Average White Band during that peak period when they had #1 hits and in the States and stuff, so he's got lots of stories in that department. But I'm going to just start off by going back to the early days when I first met up with them. And because we knew them way before they were even the Average White Band. I was touring with Wishbone Ash at the time. We were both under the same management, John Sherry Enterprises. And so we were quite a lot doing gigs with Glencoe. And I think even before that, Forevermore, which you guys probably never heard of, I don't know, but Forevermore had Alan Gorrie, Oni McIntyre, and that was with Mark Travis and Stuart Francis. And I knew Stuart very well. He's the drummer. Unfortunately, passed away young. And then, Glencoe was another team where they were associated with. That was with Graham Maitland, Norman Watt-Roy, famous for with Ian Drury. Yeah, and Johnny Turnbull, also of Ian Drury fame. So we knew all those guys, and then they gradually formed the Average White Band. Yeah, so they were, that all spawned out of a whole group of people, that used to play around London. Brian Auger, I don't know, Oni used to sit in with them a lot. Alex Ledgerwood was a vocalist. All this Scottish Invasion. Alex went on to work with Santana. And
Robbie McIntosh was a drummer for him.
Robbie McIntosh, yeah.
He was a drummer, and
I'm not sure what band he came from, but they're all part of the Scottish Invasion coming down into London at that time. Frankie Miller was involved. And we were touring together quite a lot. I was envious of them. They had a long wheelbase blue Transit, with aircraft seats. We had a yellow single wheelbase, which was pretty Mickey Mouse compared. But that was just, we were only 19, 20 years old at the time. And, but yeah, I got really good friends with Peppy, who was the roadie for Glencoe. And we used to hang out, and I ended up moving up to the flat. He had a fantastic flat up in Hampstead on Reddington Road. Peppy was living there, Hamish was living there, Oni was living there. So we all became really good friends, and it just sort of worked out great. Frankie Miller used to come up, and they were all drinking together. There was a lot of heavy drinking going on in those days.
Still is.
And still is, probably. And, then the Average White Band were born out of that. Going back to Bruce, he was working with Eric Clapton as tour manager, I believe.
Delaney and Bonnie.
And then Delaney and Bonnie, all that tribe, right. Along with Kevin Harrington. Mm-hmm. Kevin Harrington came to work with Wishbone. Bruce became Average White Band's manager, and they got signed to Atlantic, and I didn't lose contact with them completely, but they started on their sort of world tours and everything, and I was touring with Wishbone. And, it's a few years, it goes full cycle, which I'll get into a little bit later, because Wilco came onto the scene with the Average White Band, and then I kind of picked up again at the tail end of their fame back in the early 80s.
Yeah, I was with them from 73 till 80. And I met them actually in Kensington, Olympia. We all used to go drinking in the Hand and Flower. And I was bouncing around with different bands, Ellis, I was doing the Tremolos. I was drinking with them, and all of a sudden Mal's like, I'm going to do a gig with the Average White Band. Do you want to come down?
That's when Mal Craggs jumped in.
Yeah. So Mal was doing the first, and I went to a gig, and I was like, oh, it's the guys. I didn't know it was the guys. I've been drinking with for 6 months, but then I took over from Mal I think he went off to the States with Phil Collins or Genesis or one of them.
I think no,
It was Genesis.
It was a bit before, maybe.
No, it was 72.
Yeah.
You know, in 73, I start working with them and the Tremolos. I was doing both bands. I was lucky I could keep them both rolling. And yeah, I mean, it was fantastic because when you work in clubs, you're learning the trade. You know, you just get in there, you do it. And one thing I noticed though, the Average White Band's fan base was just growing and growing. And every gig was getting better and better. I mean, it was just, Hamish had their hair down here. You know, Robbie McIntosh, the original drummer, God bless him, you know. And it was fantastic days. It was...
Well, that was the original band. We're going to put up some pictures in the post-editing here of the original lineup and stuff like that. But, you know, I remember on the early days, they'd be playing at the Marquee.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, you know, as a drummer, he was actually a musician, which against the rumours of drummers. So, I mean, he had a brilliant ear and you know, and his sense of rhythm was second to none.
Yeah. I used to love watching him. He used to, on his snare, tighten him up and do it. Always go, doom, 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 doom. That's where we got that sound. I used to love it.
Yeah.
And I heard it through the grapevine by Marvin Gaye.
Yeah. So, yeah, those days, it was great. I mean, they were all living in Barron's Court and around there.
Yeah.
And you used to all hang out together.
Olympia.
Yeah. And half of us were up in Hampstead at the big boat in the hill there. It was built by a rear admiral, and it was shaped like a front of a boat, and it came like through the hill, and so the balcony at the flat. I wish I had some photos. I might be able to dig something up. You know, you could stand on the balcony and you could see out over the GPO towers about a mile away. You know, it was like we've made it, you know.
So it was like Mary Poppins. He used to blow the whistle and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Was that Mary?
But Cozy Powell lived in the same building. It was a rock and roll centre, you know. And Errol was up on the penthouse up on top.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's great memories. Early days of meeting the Average White Band and living with them, basically. And as I say, that, you know, that all came round several years later in Connecticut. But, you know, Wilco, talk about when, you know, they had their first album, Show Your Hand. So that was the Gollywog album.
Yeah, that's the one they actually couldn't use in the United States. But basically 73, I mean, I'd done quite a few gigs with them. And all of a sudden we're going to Europe. It was probably the hardest tour I ever did. And that's going to be recorded again on Thursday. So I'll explain that Thursday. But, you know, we did our first European tour. We did 3 gigs in 3 different countries in one day. Worked that one out. We probably made £5 at the end of the day.
Well, it was the efforts you had to make in those days, you know.
When bands were touring. You know, I mean, the record labels kept the money and the touring money went in the pockets. So that's where the living was, you know. So yes, I was with them from 73 and then January 15th, 1975, off to the USA.
When you pick up the pieces, make it up to the top of the charts? What year was that? 75?
It was 75 in March or April.
And was that your first tour in the States with the
That
White
was
Band?
my first American tour.
Right.
And I've stayed for 48 years.
It's still there.
I'm just coming home.
Just in Devon.
I'm just coming home. I'm in Torquay, Devon right now. So, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing days because, you know, my working thing was learning all from 70 to 75 with all the bands I was with. I was learning the whole game, you know. So 75, I was like, you know, excited I was in the States, but I was also ready for what they were going to throw at me, you know. And Bruce Picasco taught me a lot, you know. We brought Gary Smith in, he taught me a lot. You know, and you just jump in there. You know.
Well, I think we all worked for the White Band at one time or another. Granny did.
Granny, well, I hired Granny in 76 or late 75.
Right. And he was right there right through till the 80s when I joined back up with them.
Yeah, when I left, you came back in. So.
And Mal was there in the early days because he got you the gig with them in the first place, I believe. Or
Yeah, I
at least
think he actually
dragged you,
did.
dragged you.
He never turned up for the gig, of course.
No.
I was sitting there like a complete.
Oh right, you got invited, but he didn't show up.
He didn't show up.
No.
So but I was the only one who could drive. The Scottish Friends, which was Big Mac, and I think there was it'd come to me, but they couldn't drive, so they just went, okay, you got the gig, because I couldn't drive a 3-tonner, and I really couldn't. It was like bumping cars for the first 6 months.
They were great, those 3-tonners.
I loved them.
They were the new style. We'd gone from transits then into 3-tonners, and they were like, wow, yeah.
I never had a tranny.
You never had a tranny?
I just went straight to 3-tonners.
I passed my test in a tranny.
You did?
Yeah. Is that rock and roll or what?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, but okay, well, you got to the, the White Band had success. Pick Up the Pieces was going up the charts in the States.
Well, it's like all of a sudden you're playing 300 seaters in England and 500 tops. The next thing you're playing 20,000 seaters. I mean, the tour just went ballistic. And you got to remember there was no video back then. There was no way you could see something. And our audience was 99.9% African American, and the way they were buying the albums.
Well, it was a big R&B hit, wasn't it?
Yeah, was the rhythm and blues section in the Cashbox and all that stuff. That's what we were in.
Yeah.
And they'd be looking on stage going, "Wow, they're white," because they just listen to the music.
Well, the name Average White Band kind of gives it away.
yeah, but it's like, when you listen to some funky music, then all of a sudden you're looking on stage.
Oh yeah, no, and the African American or black audience really took to them.
Yeah, it was our audience. It was our audience.
Atlantic Records with all their stars. I mean, Marvin Gaye and
Teddy Pendergrass, Luther Vandross.
They were all big fans of the Average White Band.
Aretha Franklin. They all loved it. I mean, the first day in the recording studio, in Atlantic Studio, I was talking to all of them. And I was like sitting there, like, I'm sitting next to Aretha Franklin and Teddy Pendergrass. And they go, "Where's AWB? Are you in the band?" It's like, "I'm the roadie." They're like, "Oh, they were waiting for him to come in." But, Reef Mardin was doing Aretha Franklin, that actually did the Average White Band. It's producer.
Yeah.
So it was a great family, the Atlantic Records, and everybody at Atlantic was just fantastic,
Right, well, I think that gives us a nice cue. We're going to play from the Atlantic 40-year anniversary Atlantic Records, Average White Band performing
at the
at Madison Square
Garden.
So let's have a go at that.
I believe it was the last time they played together.
Here we go.
The Gornie's Jack. I have to talk to him.
Come on, Ollie.
There he is, Mr. Funk.
He's got his button done up wrong, hasn't he?
I mean, that guitar can't be that idiotic, surely. He stared his teeth with a pencil, remember that?
Of course, we've got Steve Ferone on the drums.
Yeah, Steve took over from Robbie.
Ironically, I mean, this is an instrumental. I mean, Hamish is a great singer. Alan's a great singer. They've got beautiful songs that they sing,
right?
And the big hit was the instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
But it's great.
But it was everybody was into disco and dancing.
Well, it was. Well, it had the rhythm, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it filled the dance floor. So we'll just go up to Molly solo, and then we'll. There he is.
God bless him.
Rest in peace, Mal.
Oh, he is. But he may get to his solos at the end of the song.
Is it?
Because they go through all the band members.
The thing is, Molly never changed. He always had that look, you know, the sax player stoop.
Yeah.
Pick up the pieces.
Nothing to take away from Mr. Ball.
No, absolutely not. AWB there. That was from the Atlantic Records 40-year anniversary at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, it was a great
Last
gig.
time they played together as the original lineup, you know, obviously
Yeah.
including Robbie. You
I
know.
mean, I wasn't with the band. I was in Connecticut. I got a call from the record label. Do you want to come down and help out? You know. So
Yeah.
I went down. It was a funny day. I mean, you know, my days with Foreigner. I used to see them. I mean, I was walking out with the average whites, and Foreigners walking in and make it look like good, you know.
Ships passing in the night.
Yeah, you know, but there was so many bands there. It was fantastic. Keith Kevin was the production manager. All old buddies.
Yeah.
They, you know, we went from 20,000 seaters and 5 gigs a week, non-stop.
Well, that's what you want when you're, you know, sort of when you're, well, even though, going back to those days, you know, when I was working with Molly and that lot, it was early 80s, 81, 82.
Right.
And I think Molly, you know, those guys are a few years older than me, closer to 40. But Molly would always say, yeah, we're the overage white band. If we look back now, you know, we weren't overage at all at that time. It was still,
Right,
you know.
right. But I think they did Top of the Pops, and I think it was Let's Go Around Again, I think. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, that was a big hit.
That was a good hit.
Yeah.
I like that song. And when they were walking in, all the punters back, you know, the backstage door, like, oh, I didn't know that old. They were staggering in with the guitars and shit, you know.
The overage white band.
The overage white band.
But we love them to bits, and we've all had we had so many laughs with them. I mean, God, Jesus Christ. They're the funniest band in the world to work with.
They were brilliant. I mean, they were the only band I could leave by themselves. I mean, if the first limo was downstairs and I was running upstairs dragging the last ones out, they would just jump in the limo and go to the airport. And I'd come down, and I never looked for
they were
anybody.
big boys. They could
Yeah.
look after
Oh,
themselves.
no,
They
they
didn't
were
need
fantastic.
nursemaiding,
Yeah.
you know, wiping ass and all that
No.
bollocks.
You know, I'd get to the airport, and, you know, those days, the band used to just walk straight to the gate because I'd already be there with the boarding passes. There was no, you know, security. There was none of that going on. You pulled up with a van full of baggage, and one guy or two guys would just take it straight to the airline.
Yeah.
Boom, off you go. You know, it was fantastic.
Here's a few quid, get all the shit on the flight.
I used to give him 20 quid at a time, $20.
Yeah, you wouldn't get that now. It'd be $20 a bag,
Yeah.
at least.
You know, but toured all over the world with them. Japan, we did Japan, all throughout Europe. The States, non-stop with the States. And, you know, and when we finished, we didn't finish because I was living in New York at the time. And, you know, we'd go back to New York and straight back in the studio. When Pick Up the Pieces was really happening, we were in Southampton and Mansion recording Cut the Cake.
Long Island, Southampton.
Southampton, Long Island, you know. I think it was Ahmet Ertegun's house and nobody knew where we were. You wanted to be secret, you know. Then we, you know, went down to Miami. We did Feel No Fret. We did this. We went to the Bahamas with Feel No Fret. Sorry, but we went to Miami. Which one did we call it?
Yeah, I mean, those were the, you know,
Benny King and Us.
That was what it was all about,
Yeah.
you know, getting there. And those guys left Scotland as you left Hartlepool, as I left Torquay, all in the late 60s and headed for London and tried to make our way. And luckily we all found each other up there, which is great.
Yeah.
And we're still friends now. I mean, I can still call Orny or Alan at any time. And Roger comments quite a bit on the Rock and Roll Rowdies.
Yeah, 54 years, 55 years. You know, and it's like, to me, it's just been good because it got me on the next pedestal with my career, you know, because in 1980, I'm at the farm in Connecticut going, what do I do for a job? Who's going to hire me?
Well,
Ring, ring, hello. You know, so it was word to mouth back then.
Take that gig.
Yeah.
Well, that's a brief, in a way that we've probably got lots more stories about the Average White Band. You know, some of them we cannot tell, I'm afraid. But you know, they were great days, and I'm covered in sunshine now. All right, and you know, I've just got so much time for those guys.
Yeah.
And it's a great. You know, they're still gigging now, so go and see them because Alan and Nonny have still got, and they've got great players with them as well. So it's no.
It's a real tight band.
Yeah, they are
Go
great.
on their website, Average White Band.
Yeah.
And you get all the gigs from that, all the gigs they're playing, if it's in Europe or if it's in the States. You know, just go and get on there.
But we were there. He used to
Back in the day.
He used to AWB.
AWB, the only life for me. I used to cast gigs to see that. Bye.
Bye, Bruce.
Bye,
Bye,
Weird.
Welcome to the Rock and Roll Rowdies.
Yeah.